Hi everyone, welcome to the session. Please confirm if you can hear me clearly. All right, thank you very much. Mohammed Roshan, ACCA representative, will share the link with you to download the previous day's handouts, and they actually did. So please check out this link. You will get all the relevant handouts here. All right, so what's the update on yesterday's case study, standard answers, and examiner's report? So did you get the chance to cover it? All right. Okay, so if you haven't yet covered those documents, I think you know you're supposed to cover them eventually. And you can also try attempting some of the parts by writing them, maybe for time management purposes and for practice. Yes, the answers are always very impressive and very comprehensive too, but they also help you to understand more ideas about one given particular situation. So that is a very useful, I would say, material, and the examiner's report, of course. Okay, so today we are going to cover another past exam from March 2020 exam attempt. Excuse me. And this exam attempt was named as Tech There For You. It's the name of a company. So it's a company which is providing different technology related services. So the name is a little different, but it is actually March 2020 past exam. All right, so I'm waiting for a minute or two for the participants to join. So people are joining in. Let's take just one more minute and then we'll start the case study. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can ask. All right, so the question is that do you have any tips on word count? So Niranjan, actually everyone has a different way of explaining the answers. So I normally do not tell the students to restrict or change their writing style, but just don't add anything in your answer which is not adding value to the answer. So not extraordinary long answers. So can I say 2 to 3 to 4 lines are maximum for 1 point, depending on the quality of the evidence or the explanation you're writing. All right, let's start. So now this case study is again very different from the previous 2 days case studies, especially in terms of the requirements that were asked. And I think this case study is also very rich in terms of different formats that were tested. a couple of new formats like letter, the format of letter, and I think there was one more which were not covered in last two attempts. So yes, letter and the email. All right, let's start. So as usual, I'm going to start with the overview. In the computer-based exam, normally this overview is also given in one of the exhibit. So you may get the introduction on the front page of the computer-based exam, or you may get some introduction in the exhibit as well. So that totally depends. But our sequence will always be same. First, we'll read the requirements, and then we'll read the exhibits, and then we'll start writing the answer. We might have to go back to exhibits to reread some parts of it again. Sorry, Fiza, I didn't understand your question properly. Reading the past papers and then attempting them will be enough. What do you mean? What should I assume from this? So you read the case study properly, you plan for it, and then you write the answer, right? So you can attempt some past papers in written form, and for some case studies, you can open the standard answers and read from there. But yes, plan your answer first, jot down your points first, make a summary of points which you want to discuss in the answer, and then open the standard answers, read the marking scheme, examiner's report. So what I'm going to do today is, after we're done with the case study, I will share a quick study plan with you that what you should be doing in last 10-15 days before the exam, and how to go about a case study when doing it. Okay. Now let's start. So overview of the company. So it says that TechThere4U is a firm of information technology consultants founded 20 years ago. So this company actually is a firm of information technology consultancy, initially offering advice on computer efficiency and security. The company has expanded to offer a range of services, including technology support and data hosting, right? So technology support, data hosting, computer efficiency, security, all of these are different range of services they are providing to their clients. It currently employs 75 staff members, which have grown from 6 since its establishment. TT4U, it's the short for the name of the company. So TT4U has based its success in the past on its good knowledge of clients' business and its ability to match the solutions it provides with business requirements. So they think that they understand the client needs well, and then they match the service according to the need of the client, and that is why they are successful. So understanding of the customer, right? TT4U has a diverse client base operating in a wide variety of industry sectors. The 4 consultants who initially founded the company remain on the board in executive roles. So there were 4 consultants who are the founders of the company, and they are now the board of directors. They're the part of the board. The board is constituted as follows. Board role and comments are here. So the board of directors, the members are chairman and non-executive director, appointed 2 years ago, partner in a large law firm, chief executive officers, original founder, service director, original founder, leads TT4U team for smaller businesses, marketing director, MD, original founder, leads TT4U team for large businesses, information technology director, original founder, leads TT4U public sector team. So you see the 4 original founders, 3 of them are actually handling different strategic business units, or I would say divisions of the business. So they have smaller businesses, they have larger businesses, and they have public sector teams in their profile. Then you have finance director, appointed 4 years ago, and then you have another non-executive director appointed 2 years ago, former partner of a large accountancy firm. Below the board level, operational staff are allocated to one of 3 teams serving particular types of clients. Teams are led by the relevant founder director for that team. So after the board level, there's directly the operational teams and staff working, and they are the technical people. Basically, they provide the services. So they are kind of the technical people. 2 years ago, the company achieved a listing on its national stock exchange for smaller companies. Okay, so this company is listed, not a full listing, but national stock exchange for smaller companies. TD4U is compliant with the corporate governance code enforced by this stock exchange. The founder directors continue to own a majority of shares, but the company now also has external shareholders. Some of these external shareholders have indicated that they would like to see the company achieve a full listing on the main national stock exchange within 3 years. So those external shareholders have kind of set a target for the company to achieve this national full listing within 3 years. TD4U's CEO believes that TD4U needs to undergo an internal transformation in order to be able to retain current clients and deliver the expansion required to obtain a full listing. She believes that the company's current structures are now insufficient to respond quickly enough to changes in the external environment and meet clients' evolving demands. So CEO is telling you what? That company needs to undergo the transformation in a lot of different areas, especially to retain clients, and the structures need to be changed, and because now the demand of the clients are changing. Okay, next, TD4U's board has decided to engage an external consultancy firm, Stubfield, to help in evaluating various strategic options and advising on decisions. You are the leader of the team from Stubfield, responsible for producing sections of a report and various other documents. So this is your role throughout the case study. So roles are not changing with every requirement in this case study, just like yesterday. The following exhibits provide information relevant to the case study. So again, there are 6 exhibits which have all the relevant information for all the requirements. Now off to our requirements, and you can see that in this particular question, as compared to yesterday's case study, the requirements are presented in a little less complex way. So there's not a lot of information given, just straight requirements most of the times, but the requirements in itself are complicated, that each requirement has so many elements to take care of, especially from requirement number 2 onwards. The complexity of one requirement in terms of having different parts is increasing. Okay, now let's have a look at the first requirement. So it says that TT4U Chief Executive Officer is concerned about the possibility that major contracts will not be won or renewed, and would like your views on what the main risks are for TT4U. Requirement is to prepare briefing notes, format number 1, for the board, which analyze the main risks which threaten TT4U being awarded new contracts and retaining current contracts. So you have to talk about risks here, but what do you have to say? Are you going to take up any type of risks here, or are there specific risks you have to talk about? So main risks which threaten TT4U not winning new contracts or renewing the current ones. So it's related to winning the contracts, winning the work and market share type risks. So they are specific. Yes, exactly. So there are specific risks, not everything. And also, do you see suggestions required here? So there are 8 marks. You have to talk about like 4 to 5 risks, well explained, and you will have to explain that why your identified risk will create a pressure on the company to win new contracts or renew the current ones. So you'll have to explain the problem, but I am asking you, do we have to give suggestions? No, because they're not specifically needed. Had the requirement mentioned the word suggestions, we would have naturally included our, suggestions for each risk. But here, not needed. But what if I end up giving the suggestions? It might not add much value. We'll waste a lot of time because examiner has not, specifically highlighted any marks for that. Professional skills marks are available though for analysis skills in establishing the risk relating to TT4U. And there are 2 marks available. So we'll have to read the case study to know whether the risks are given in one particular exhibit or they are spread throughout the case study. Normally the risks are throughout the case study and not specific to one exhibit. Otherwise it would become too easy for students to, identify and explain them. But let's see. So that's part A for you. So are you guys making your quick summary along with the discussion? Okay, Rabia is asking that or suggesting that analysis can involve recommendations. Not exactly. So if there is evaluation skill tested, that can include recommendation, but that recommendation has to be an overall thing, not with every risk or not with every situation. So maybe let's say if there's a question on acquisition, Rabia, are you listening to me? If there's a question on evaluation, the acquisition target, let's say, then if the evaluation professional skill is tested, then you would be giving a recommendation at the end, whether should we go ahead with the acquisition or not. So something like that. Okay, so not here. Next paragraph. So it says that at the recent directors meeting, the information technology director proposed that TT4U should develop new services in relation to the Internet of Things. The service director proposed that TT4U should focus on winning more government sector work. So one director is saying that we should be developing new services for Internet of Things, and the other director is suggesting that we should be focusing on winning the public sector work more. So both directors are suggesting a strategy. The chief executive officer wants your report to include consideration of these 2 strategic options. So this question sounds like coming in from the strategic choices area of the syllabus. So you have to prepare the section of your report which evaluates, which means positive aspects, negative aspects of the 2 strategic options proposed by the directors. The first one is Internet of Things strategy. The second one is winning more government sector work. So what are we going to do for 12 marks? That we are going to be talking the positive aspects and the negative aspects of both the strategies. But the question is, how many points in total we have to discuss? So if we divide the marks between 2 strategies, that will be a total of 6 marks each, right? Roughly. I mean, there's not a hard and fast segregation. So roughly speaking, 6 marks for each strategy. So for 6 marks, you can discuss like 3 to 4 points per strategy, but make sure 3 to 4 points for each strategy. But make sure that your points should include positive and negative aspects both. Otherwise, this verb, the demand of the verb will not be fulfilled, right? Is this clear to everyone? Now, I will have to rely on my information from the case study to figure out positive and negative aspects, and I will have to learn more about these 2 strategies before I finalize how many positives or how many negatives. Okay. Okay, now let's see what the professional skill marks are, and then we'll decide should we give a recommendation or not. So the requirement does not say give a recommendation, so it doesn't have to be a very black and white recommendation. But let's see, professional skills marks are available for demonstrating evaluation skill in using professional judgment to objectively appraise the two strategic options proposed by director. So this statement does not say give a recommendation, but when the evaluation skill is tested, you can give a recommendation. And because question is not clearly asking for it, I will give a loose or sort of a political kind of a recommendation. So whatever I think is better, I will end up my report or the part of the report saying that this particular strategy seems like better for the company. So two parts are done. Question number 1, there is another part, C. TD4U Chief Executive Officer would like to have an independent external view on what was discussed at the meeting about the threatening letter. So there is some meeting and there is something about threatening letter. We'll have to read from the exhibits to know more about it. But let's quickly see what exactly we have to do about this letter. In particular, she doubts the views of marketing director. So who is doubting the views of marketing director? The chief executive officer doubts the views of marketing director. And what are the views of marketing director? That TT4U can simply rely on its data controls. So CEO does not agree with marketing director that relying on its data controls is enough, something like that. She is also uncertain whether TT4U should disclose nothing to Rex Investment as the marketing director suggested. So now the story about this letter and disclosure and data controls, this will be in one of the exhibits given very clearly. So we'll have to wait to understand it properly from that. But the requirement specifically is to prepare a confidential email. So the new format I was talking about, new as in not discussed in previous 2 case studies. So prepare a confidential email for the chief executive officer, which there are 2 parts. So guys, the summary of this case study is even more important because I told you that one part has another set of subparts. So you see that C part has 2 parts, and let's see what are those 2. So in the email, what am I supposed to write? Advise on the actions. I have to give advice on the actions which TT4U can take to ensure that the controls on confidentiality of data is operating effectively. So please connect these 2 elements. You have to write the action that company should take to ensure that controls on confidentiality of data operate effectively. So action means what? Can I say you have to define the control activities here? What activities should the company be doing in order to make sure the data confidentiality and the data protection is ensured? Yeah, so such as passwords, yes, we can say that, but can we just wait and understand what's going on first, and then we'll suggest. So passwords, just like password, that is one example. But we'll have to think more diversified, control activities or actions. Actions equals control activities, right? Is this clear to everyone? I mean, this is a little tricky requirement. If you don't focus on it, you may misunderstand it and then write a completely different answer, which the examiner is expecting you to write. Okay, clear? All right, thank you. So that is going to be the first part in first subpart of requirement C. The second part will cover the risks and ethical issues So first and second. So risks as well as ethical issues relating to communicating the threat to client Rex investment. So far, I have no idea what is this threat, who is Rex investment, which institution is that. I'll have to find it out when we read the question. But there are some ethical issues and there are some risks and problems which the company might face if they communicate the threat to the client Rex investment. So Rex investment is our client, right? At least I know this. So there are 12 marks available. Now, guys, please be careful here. The 12 technical marks are divided between two parts: the control activities, I hope you understand this, and the risks plus ethical issues. So you don't have to exactly divide 6 marks for each part, but roughly, if I have to, decide my number of points, then roughly I have like 6 marks here again. And for each part, I should be writing at least 3 to 4 points or maybe more, depending on how many ideas I get and depending on how much explanation I'm doing. So if I'm not able to explain something well, or something, let's say my idea is self-explanatory and not a lot of explanation is required, then maybe I'll add more ideas to get my full marks. So that is something you need to do according to what you are thinking, what your ideas are. And again, risk and ethical issues, so 3 to 4 points. Professional skills marks are available here for demonstrating skepticism skill in challenging the views of marketing director. So we might be giving views against marketing director, so that is how we will be able to demonstrate skepticism. All in all, question number 1 has 41 marks. So how much time do we have to spend on this? 1 hour 22 minutes or 82 minutes, right? Anything you want to ask? Anything which is not clear? Okay, guys, please keep the session interactive. I see very few feedback points. So please make sure that you are answering in the chat window so that I know if you are able to understand it or not. You can tell me if you want me to repeat anything, if something does not make sense. All right, so shall we move on to the next requirement? So this case study has actually 3 requirements in total. But you see that one requirement has so many subparts. Okay, great. Requirement 2. So it says that the assistant to the finance director has prepared a summary of the investment appraisal of the planned development of TT4U cloud-based service. So there is a planned development of company's cloud-based service, and you're given a summary of the investment appraisal. The Chief Executive Officer has given you a summary of the analysis which has been prepared, and she is unsure whether it is satisfactory. She also wants you to brief the board on how the new service should be e-marketed. Requirement is to prepare a section of your report which critically evaluates, again, consider the positives as well as negative aspects and go into a little detail. So critically evaluate the investment appraisal produced by finance director's assistant. So someone who is an assistant to finance director has prepared the investment appraisal, and you will have to critically evaluate it. So for 8 marks, again, 4 to 5 points, I need to be, highlighting, but not all negative, both positive, negative. If there is something positive, I'll say it. If there is something negative, I'll say it. And for these kind of questions where you have to criticize or critically evaluate someone else's work, the professional skill is mostly skepticism in questioning the investment appraisal prepared by finance director's assistant. So I think now this requirement kind of sounds familiar. I think there was a question kind of like this yesterday as well, where the NPV performer was given. So yes, in this past paper, you also have this NPV and payback calculations given, and then we'll have to talk about the assumptions, right? So will this be toned for a junior? Now the question is, will this be toned for a junior? So kind of. So because it is the finance director's assistant. So yes, critically, when you're using critical evaluation, when there's this verb, your tone naturally becomes like a teacher, right? Somebody who is identifying the problems and suggesting recommendation that how you can improve it. As well as, Fiza has a question here that how can we, demonstrate skepticism when we are doing positive and negatives. So, when something is wrong, when something is not very clear, we tell the relevant person that this is not very clear. It looks like that there is a mistake here. So when I'm telling somebody that about their work, I'm naturally showing skepticism. And when I say that, okay, the next point is well identified and that is fine. So skepticism naturally includes both positive and negative aspects. So you don't have to do anything special. You just have to say. We can ask for more information. Kagan, is that clear? So we ask for more information or the assumptions behind some figure. And Rabia, is this clear that yes, when you're critically evaluating someone else's work, you have to behave like a senior or like more like a teacher, right? Trying to improve the document. Okay. But this question may sound familiar, but the data and the whole idea, the investment is very different. So there will be margin of discussing the new things in this question as well. But I must say that the discussion on this investment appraisal has been tested for like three times at least, what I remember in past exams so far. Next, part B is to prepare briefing notes for the next board meeting, which recommend how e-marketing can be used to attract and retain clients for TT4U's new cloud-based services. So how company can use e-marketing to attract and retain clients for new cloud-based services. So what do you think we have to do here? We have to tell the uses of e-marketing, which means benefits of e-marketing for this new service the company is offering. But it has to be very specific to cloud-based services, and you also have to, use the general ideas of benefits of e-marketing. Now, here we are not going to be discussing the advantages of cloud, Fiza. We are going to be discussing the advantages and uses of e-marketing for this new service. Is this clear? So that's the confusion. Many students may, may have, they must have faced this in the exam that, oh, this is talking about cloud technology, but no, actually the question is e-marketing uses. Is that clear to everyone? All right. So professional skills marks are available for demonstrating commercial acumen, of course, by showing awareness of effective methods of e-marketing, the new cloud-based services. So you'll have to give ideas here that how in different ways you can use e-marketing, right? So maybe engaging the client more, maybe giving them a very customized promotions, interactivity, remember? Interactivity, intelligence, identifying the patrons, etc. So all those benefits which are mentioned in 6I model of e-marketing. So those can be relevant here. Are you guys familiar with 6I model? I mean, again, not as model, but it has like the usage or the implications of e-marketing discussed. Okay, Rabia has a question here. It's asking for recommendation. So would it also focus on the feasibility to implement e-marketing? Rabia, I'm afraid that I have to disagree with you here. We are not going to be assessing the feasibility of it. It doesn't say recommendation overall. It says give ideas or uses how e-marketing can be used to attract and retain customers. So you have to give ideas how you can attract customers and retain customers. So if we are using e-marketing, we can attract customer by giving them customized promotions and advertisements, just like these very intelligent social media websites do. Yeah, so something like that. And you can, retain clients by, increasing interactivity, by understanding your customer, using data analytics, identifying the patterns, trends, etc. So all of this aspect needs to be considered. I hope this is clear. Please let me know if you're still confused. We can have a little bit more discussion on this. So basically, yes, the requirement is given in a tricky way. It says which recommend how e-marketing. So how means give ideas. Tell exactly what different ways e-marketing can, help retaining clients. Client here means customers. Okay, so that is your second requirement. The third requirement is the final requirement, but it has a lot of different elements going on. So let's see. For questions like these, where there are so many elements within one requirement, the best approach is one requirement, one part of the requirement at a time, and make a summary so that we don't forget any specific part of the requirement. Yeah, so you can use the concepts of interactivity, individualized, promotions and advertisement, change, independence of location, etc. So all of these things in second question part B. So you're right, okay. But you'll have to, connect it with the situation of the scenario, with TT4U specific situation, right? Okay, requirement 3, everyone. The Chief Executive Officer believes that TT4U's current structure will have to change if TT4U is to introduce the new MUBID approach to client relationships successfully. So there is some approach. It's a mnemonic for a lot of words, MUBID approach. So I'll have to find out from the question what it might be. So it says that the company is going to introduce this new approach to client relationship. And the chief executive thinks that the current structure of the company will need to change because of this if we have to implement it successfully. Okay, further it says that the chief executive officer knows that she must take ownership of the transformation. So have you learned about change management in SBL? So this question has a little bit element of change management as well. So here this chief executive as a leader is thinking that I should own the change, right? So she feels, however, that she needs guidance on the transformation process and how she should lead this process, including communicating the need for change to employees. So she wants suggestions that how should I take this change and how should I convince the employees, etc. So that is from the change management area of syllabus. So you don't have to specifically learn any model for it. These are general discussion points. However, we'll have to, connect them to TT4U's current scenario. This MUBID approach is coming in and it is changing a few things for the company. Okay, so what am I supposed to write in my answer? Requirement part A is to prepare an email, my format, for Chief Executive Officer. So I am suggesting I am the consultant, remember? So I'm from the staff, I'm the leader of the consultancy team. It was given in the overview. So I have to prepare an email for the Chief Executive Officer, specially, which advises her on the responsibilities, that what are the responsibilities of CEO, and number two, activities. What activities should she engage in preparing for and implementing the transformation on TT for you effectively? What does transformation mean here in simpler words? It means change, right? Big change. So yes. Now we still have to read from the question, what exactly is the change which is coming in and what is this MIOBID approach? But do you agree with me that the leaders, for example, Chief Executive Officer here, has some responsibilities for change management? So we have to suggest her these responsibilities, and activities means that what activities she should engage in. So maybe she should have a training session or education session where she communicates the advantages of the new approach to people, train them, make them understand why this is important. So things like that needs to be discussed here. But please be clear, please note it down that you have to talk about her responsibilities and actual activities, what exactly she should be doing, what activities she should be getting involved in to effectively manage this change. Yes, like education, communication, and some other things, right? According to the marks, we'll be thinking about how many ideas. So yes, there are 10 marks available. So what should I do? We have to explain like 5 to 7 points maybe, depending on how many ideas I can think about. But these 5 to 7 points, I'm repeating, everyone, please focus here. These 5 to 7 points should include responsibilities as well as activities separately. So maybe make a heading of responsibilities first, give your ideas, then make the next heading of what exact activities, and give your ideas. So as I suggested earlier, one requirement at a time, one part at a time. Yes, both. Mention new and current both. Responsibilities and activities. Because the change do not actually happen in a day, right? So some things needs to be done right now, some maybe after a few days, right? When the change is actually coming in. So we'll have to first figure out what the change exactly is to comment more about this. Okay, second part, part B. Okay, do you notice that there are no professional skills marks attached here for part A? Part B is prepare a letter. So that's the next new format for today's case study, an email and then the letter. So prepare a letter to all employees. Now this is for all employees. Okay, there was this question I missed, that is change always employee related? So it can be, it cannot be, depends what type of change you're talking about, but somehow or the other, every change is going to impact the employees in one way or the other. Yeah, in this question, there is no professional skill marks available, so it's okay. There might be a requirement in the exam where professional skills are not given. I don't know why, but we still have to follow the format. We can't take chances. Okay. Requirement B is to prepare a letter to all employees which will be signed by Chief Executive Officer explaining the benefits of implementing the new MIOBID approach for TT4U and its employees. So first we need to understand what the MIOBID approach is. Once we read it from the exhibits, we'll have to explain the benefits of this approach. So we'll figure that out, but the benefits has to be like discussed in two different aspects. What two aspects I'm talking about here? Benefits for whom? Yes, so for both company and employee. So again, there are two parts. Benefits of MUBIT for the company should be dealt with separately. Make heading advantages of MUBIT for TT for you, and then the next heading for employees. Right? So MUBIT approach is an approach where there is a lot of learning going on. So that learning will be at the organizational level and at the individual employee level as well, improving their skills, etc. So that's the first part. The second is in the same letter, you have to explain the main changes to the team structure and behaviors below the board level. Like below the board level means operational staff. So what changes to the team structure and behaviors below the board level which the new MUBIT approach will require. So this new MUBIT approach will change the structures of the team and the behaviors of the team. So talk about both in this part of the requirement, but you see that there are 10 marks available. So for first part, can I say roughly 5 marks? And for the second part, roughly 5 marks. And for 5 marks, we have to write how many points? 3 to 4, can I say that? I mean, 3 to 4 are a little more than what we normally do, but there's so many things we have to take care of. So maybe 2 points for companies benefits, right here, 2 points for employees benefit, then 2 main changes to structures, 2 main changes to behavior. We'll still have to see if I'm able to generate these many ideas or not. Please confirm if the requirement along with marks distribution and number of points is clear. Now that needs to be planned beforehand. I mean, before start writing the answer, you'll have to have a plan on how many ideas to think about. Any questions? Okay, guys. Here, the professional skills marks are available for demonstrating communication skills in persuading employees of the benefits of TT4U, adopting the new approach and its working practices for 3 marks. So yeah, so this kind of covers everything for part A and for part B as well. So yes, professional skills are given here, you're right, but they are kind of, these 3 marks belong to kind of everything you have to discuss here, including the formats and if you are taking care of all the aspects of the requirement or not, and making linkage to the case study information, etc. Okay, the last part of this very complicated requirement, I would say, is that the chairman wants the board to be briefed on aspects of corporate governance. So finally, we have something on corporate governance as well, which need to change if the new MUBIT approach to client relationship is to be successfully introduced. So I think this requirement is fully about MUBIT approach. The entire requirement for 36 marks kind of links to MUBIT approach. So we still have to learn what is that. Okay, so prepare briefing notes, that's the format, which advise the board on the changes required to, number 1, membership of the board. So what changes to the membership of the board is needed? This, and same requirement has the second element, what new type of information is needed. So the changes to the information supplied to the board. Yeah, so you have to comment on what needs to change in the membership of the board and what changes need to the information that was originally supplied for the board. So again, we'll have to understand the MUBID approach properly to understand what is the need of this approach in terms of the change in board membership, and especially the change in the information which was originally supplied. Now, what additional maybe information is needed. And so you have to suggest changes to board membership and information supplied to the board to reflect TT4U's developing business needs and to make TT4U more responsive to clients. Like, why are we talking about changing this board membership and information need? Because we want TT4U to be more responsive to the clients and to develop their business properly. So all of this is 10 marks, 5 marks for the first part, 5 marks for the second part. We might get some hints from the exhibits as well, what to talk about here. Professional skills marks are available for demonstrating commercial acumen skills in identifying changes to membership of the board and information supplied, which are realistic for TT4U. So basically, the examiner is telling you to write your answer in the context of specific situation of the company and will generate better relationship with clients. 3 marks are here and 36 marks in total. So 36 marks, we have to use 72 minutes, an hour and 12 minutes in total. And for requirement 2 for 23 marks, we'll have to spend like 46 minutes. So that is our set of requirements discussed. If you have any questions, please ask. And please also confirm if your summary is now ready so that we could keep it in front of you when we start reading the exhibits. Sorry, Shiri, what do you mean by how to indicate 3 to 4 points? So for 5 marks, how did I indicate, how did I identify that I have to write 3 to 4 points? So to get my 5 marks, I will have to write 3 points. I always, being prudent, I always add 1 extra point, maybe 3 to 4, maybe 3, but less than 3 will not get me full marks. Okay. The ACCA representative will exactly confirm where you can get the previous videos. Now let's take a quick 10 minutes break here, and then we'll continue with the exhibits. And guys, please make sure that the summary of the requirements is ready when we start exploring our exhibits. All right. All right, thank you very much. I will see you in 10 minutes. Okay, so for yesterday's annotated sheet, can you guys please check the handouts for today? Okay, the handout is not yet added, but the yesterday's annotated sheet will be uploaded here soon. I'll be telling the relevant person, okay? So maybe next few minutes, the annotated sheet from day 3 from yesterday will be uploaded. Okay? Okay, now let's take a break and come back. I'll see you. Thank you very much. All right, can we start? Okay, so Exhibit 1 is the transcript of directors' meeting about issues to be discussed with Stubfield consultants. So these are the issues for you to understand because you'll have to then answer according to um, this information. And also, please, everyone, make sure that the summary of the question is in front of you so that we could remember if something is relevant appears there. Okay. So Chief Executive Officer says that I've called this meeting to discuss the areas that we want Stubfield consultants to consider. I know that some of you feel that Stubfield will be looking at areas of our business where we shouldn't need advice and that they may exceed their remit. Nevertheless, some of our investors have communicated the view that we need external advice about our business. They feel that we are too reliant on existing business from our long-term clients. We should be providing more new services and winning new clients. We have advanced discussion on developing our new cloud-based service. This will enable us to extend and cloud-based service we provide. You will recall these include provisions of private cloud for specific clients and cloud integration services, enabling clients to connect their data and applications and give them more flexible access to data resources. We have available an appraisal of our planned investment. So now in these three paragraphs, I don't think there is a specific point for any requirement. I hope you also agree with it. It's just making us understand more about the issues we have to talk about in different requirements. Finance director said that, as you are aware, I have been on sick leave, so did not prepare the appraisal myself. Johan, who recently joined the department to assist me, carried out the appraisal. I haven't reviewed the appraisal in detail yet. However, I see a glance that the payback period is just outside the 3-year limit that we set. So this was about the investment appraisal, which was prepared by finance director's assistant, and you're supposed to review that. Which requirement is that? Yeah, I think that's question number 2 part. Question number 3 part A. No, it's I think question number 2 part A. Rabia, can you please confirm? Yeah. Okay, marketing director further says, I have hoped to come today with some proposals for marketing the cloud-based services. However, I have been spending a lot of time dealing with Rex investment. So now here, do you think that we need to be a little careful because Rex investments are mentioned here and we have a requirement regarding this issue as well. So let's find out, do we understand something about this issue? So I have been spending a lot of time dealing with Rex investment, which, as you know, is a very difficult client. I think our launch of the services must make a big impact as a means of attracting the new business we need for expansion. So again, not a lot of information is there about Rex investment, only that marketing director thinks that this is a difficult client. CEO says, as you remember, I asked for suggestions from yourselves about areas where we can expand further. I've received 2 proposals, one relating to Internet of Things and the other to government sector work. IT director says we need to look beyond cloud-based services and expand an area where we can show we can provide fresh solutions. I'd be very excited about us developing more expertise and services relating to Internet of Things. So I think this is tested in one of the requirements too, Internet of Things strategy versus the public sector. So this paragraph might be relevant if we could get something positive or negative about Internet of Things from here. Okay, further it says that there is a massive potential of extending for internet connectivity beyond standard devices to everyday objects such as household appliances and making the most of the data they can generate. There are so many possible sectors: health, construction, transport, agriculture. So this I think option looks promising in terms of like diversifying the market and getting into new sectors like health and construction, etc. So this is one option. The other option you have to talk about and evaluate is the service director's option. He uh, he says that I think we should focus on winning more government sector work. A lot more is available now, and we already have some work on which we can build. So there is more work available. That's a positive aspect of doing more government sector work. Further, he says that we have the size and range of services to be looking at winning much larger contracts. I believe we are in a position to become a trusted partner of government. The government sector is less demanding of innovation than the private sector. So it's pretty, yeah, simple as compared to Internet of Things, because that's very innovative. You would need the new skill set for that, and you need to understand the investment that goes for Internet of Things setup. Okay, it is therefore a lower risk option for us, as we can secure the contracts by strong service performance without the risk attached to market leadership in new services. CEO says, now I would like us to consider the issues raised by recent client survey. So there is some client survey that she's talking about. I very much regret that we haven't carried out a survey like this for some years. For me, it highlights the need to transform our business to bring our client much closer to us. I intend that we should move forward by adopting the MUBID approach to engaging with client stakeholders in our sector, which Business Tomorrow magazine devised. So this MUBID approach is devised by Business Tomorrow magazine, and I think it's coming up in exhibit 2 or 3. Let's see. The approach is based on building open and sharing relationship with clients that help them create new sources of value for their business. So where the CEO is getting this idea of this new approach, because the current survey results are not very promising. So one exhibit has the current survey results as well, coming up in the next exhibits. Okay, service director says, I assume you will be considering how staff should be persuaded to buy into the transformation before the new approach is implemented. CEO says, I shall also be looking at how we operate as a board. 3 directors currently combine board responsibilities with operational line management of teams. This is a model which we have had since we started, but it may not be appropriate anymore. So she's talking about the change to board membership also, right? Maybe the structures, and so that question number 3 discussion. I also want to look at the way TT4U is structured as a whole. I think we ought to be much more of a metrics organization, which should result in better communication and mutual learning. Okay. Service director, I certainly agree internal communication could be improved. I know staff are told not to sit at the same desks each day, but to sit at different desks next to different people. So please keep that in mind, that there's already this communication improvement situation going on, where staff is asked to not sit at the same desks each day to improve communication between different people. Okay, however, we all know that the 3 teams sit in the same areas each day, separate from each other. We have our intranet, but the lack of contribution from staff on it is embarrassing. So there is the communication gap between different teams. Okay, marketing director, I think we need to go much further than having one-off client surveys. We need to be considering the current state of relationship with clients as an agenda item every board meeting. We have to develop a key performance indicator beyond clients gained and lost each period, so that we have a better idea of how we are performing in the area that most affect client satisfaction. We must also consider how we are perceived in relation to our competitors. Although we do have a regular report on competitors' new product offerings, that doesn't tell us how satisfied our clients are with our services in comparison with the service of our competitors offer. CEO ended this discussion by saying, thank you for your contribution. I shall ask Stubfield for the reviews on the risks that we face and the strategic options that we have discussed, as well as how we can introduce the MUBID approach successfully. I think this first exhibit is more like an introduction to situations and things we have to discuss, rather than actual key points. Do you agree with me? So they have kind of touched all the areas we are going to be talking about in our requirements. So let's see what exhibit 2 has for us. So far clear everything? So maybe we are going to use some parts of exhibit 1 also when we start jotting down and explaining our points, but not specific anything yet. Exhibit 2. Okay, now the very famous in this particular case study, the MIOBIT approach. Okay, now MIOBIT stands for M-I-E-O-B-E. This MIOBIT stands for a lot of things. Now, this approach is not a model of your syllabus. Are you all listening to me? This approach, named as MIOBIT here, it's not a topic of your syllabus. Guys, this approach is exclusive to this case study only. So it's a summary of MIOBIT approach devised by Business Tomorrow magazine. So don't think it's a topic which you have to learn. No, you have to learn it from here, from this case study. Okay, so let's try to make sense of this approach. M stands for mission driven. So they are basically, this approach is basically for what? It is managing and improving your client relationship. Guys, please focus on this, the how to be more interactive, more client based, more understanding of the customers, etc. So mission driven, this means driving strategy and attracting client stakeholders. Client stakeholder means customer. So driving your strategy and attracting the customers by a strong mission. So company TT4U needs to have a stronger mission so that the clients are also attracted. That's mission driven. I stands for interactive. So interactive means what? Being interactive with your customers. In simple words, let's read it. Participation of client stakeholders, enhancing our organization and theirs. So client is working with you, giving input, how we should provide them service. So you understand their organization, they understand yours, and it is enhancing both the organization. So working, helping each other. Empowering, enabling client stakeholders to realize personal and organizational potential. So when you're giving IT services, you're trying to understand the organization and you will be suggesting some improvements and how your services can better enhance their areas, which will eventually empower the organization of the client. Yeah, so client, our way of dealing with client should help the personal and organizational potential of the client. Then openness. Open means building on the knowledge and experience of client stakeholders by sharing and collaborating. So working with them, sharing ideas, building on the knowledge. Boundaryless is taking client stakeholders on a journey beyond existing boundaries to transform their operations and unlock value in new areas. So giving ideas, innovation, unlocking new areas for their business by providing them support. Ethical, it is founding client stakeholders relationships on responsiveness, fairness, honesty, responsibility, and transparency. So keeping the highest standards of integrity while dealing with client, right? And data focused. Now data focused means a lot of things. Security of data, to managing the data in a way that it is useful for clients, patrons, trends, understanding them. So here it says that maintaining tight security of client stakeholder data while enhancing its accessibility, right? So you will be having a lot of data on your cloud of clients, right? So a lot of clients data you would be having. So you keep the security in check, at the same time you give them more flexibility in accessing their data, right? So that's the MIOBIT approach, and I hope it is making sense to you. So it's doing everything for the client and working with them. and getting the help from the client and helping them as, in return as well. That's I thank you, Paul. Okay, any questions on this MUBIT approach? So we may come back to exhibit 2 to understand it more when we actually start writing the answer for question number 3. Yeah, do you think we'll have to come back to this? When you're solving the answer, you're writing the answer, you'll have to maybe come back for this, because some of the things might be, we might not be able to remember. But I can see that it's not a very difficult approach to understand. It is about clients enhancing interaction, etc. Okay, exhibit 3. So exhibit 3 is a blog on IT consultancy sector on Business Tomorrow magazine website. So it's a blog on a website of a magazine. So Business Tomorrow magazine blog, not just serviced, but serviced by Abby. Okay, guys. So it says that how can IT consultants stand out? How can IT consultants stand out? IT consultants are struggling to come to terms with their clients take for granted, what their clients take for granted. The days when they can sell themselves on the basis of being practical business advisors rather than IT experts are long over. Consultants need to bother tendering for work. Consultants need not bother tendering for work unless they can combine strong client and business sector knowledge with awareness of latest applications. So you can't just be IT experts, you can't just be business experts, but you'll have to combine your business knowledge, the client business knowledge especially, and combine it with the new latest your knowledge of IT and applications. Now this is a blog, please keep that in mind. So further it says, is leading innovation in cloud-based services the way forward? Anyone who is marketing themselves as having distinctive capabilities in helping clients set up the cloud has clearly been left well behind. Clients are now expecting the full package of cloud maximization service. So yes, there is innovation very much required in cloud-based services as well. Is the Internet of Things an area firm can develop? So guys, where do you think this is going to be relevant? So it's talking about Internet of Things. Question number 2, part A. No, part B or A? Okay, the question summary holder people, please tell me. Question number 2, part A. Yeah, I don't have the summary in front of me, so yes, it's part B. So there might be some useful points which we are going to be adding in our answer, but frankly, this case study is a lot more generic, discussion based than actually picking up information from the scenario. But yes, here and there, this will happen. And the points which are general and the points which are my ideas, I will be connecting them to the company's situation somehow. I'll have to. I can't just write pure generic points because they don't get a lot of marks. Okay, the Internet of Things, extending connectivity and networks to traditionally non-internet connected objects such as cars and household lights has been the next big development for some time. However, a number of sectors have clear needs for enhanced communication and monitoring. The medical sector has been eager for applications where enable remote health monitoring and notification if emergency arise. Now, guys, this company does have the potential of expanding into other areas like medical sector, construction, etc. But do you think it's an easy job to diversify just like that? They will need to have investments, they will need to have a skill set to diversify in these sectors. So a lot of things need to be taken care of. The feasibility of this, the suitability of this, the acceptability of this. Shareholders might not agree with such a new direction of expansion. Maybe, yes. So all of these things need to go in this discussion. Okay. The building sector has been keen to develop devices which oversee electronic systems within homes and offices to detect fire risk or wasteful energy usage. Involvement though remains risky. Development is driven more by technology than its usefulness for business transformation. There are also security and surveillance concerns, the dislike of being watched by inanimate object. So can I say these are the negative downsides of Internet of Things? Security issues, surveillance concerns. So people might have this, objection. So these are the downsides, again, goes to the evaluation for Internet of Things. Is client service still important? Business Tomorrow's recently survey suggests that client service remains a problem for many consultants. Our survey shows that the consultants who are responsive, who use business approaches of client participation and mutual development like Business Tomorrow's MUBID approach, are making largest profits, right? So profitability can be improved if we successfully implement MUBID approach. Next, it says that what business is available for firms providing top-class service. Lots of work. There are more long-term government sector contracts available than ever before. So that is something on government sector work, that yes, this work is available. So that is the plus positive aspect of government sector work. Further, these contracts won't be won or retained if firms do not meet government's ever strict service requirement. So government has strict service requirement. That is a challenge. Do you understand? There are positives and negatives highlighted here, but you will have to be innovative in this case study. I told you earlier, you'll have to give a lot of ideas which are not written in the exhibits. So the requirements we have, for those requirements, not a lot of ideas are given in exhibits or information in exhibits directly. You will have to give your own ideas. You'll have to be very innovative while writing the answers. It's not difficult, but being innovative is the only way you solve this case study like properly. We'll try that once we, read the exhibits. We'll try to jot down the points, and I'll be asking you a lot of questions. Okay, ultimately, firms cannot take or for granted any of their clients' continued business. Many firms have seen long-term relationship with clients end recently. So, a lot of the demands of the clients are increasing and contracts are ending if they take the demands of the clients for granted. The loyal clients previously prepared to put up with less than excellent service no longer exists. There are 85 likes, 9 dislikes. Now, what is this likes and dislikes telling you? 85 people like it as compared to 9 disliking it means that the majority of the people reading this blog are liking it. So this is very much the, I would say, representing the overall need for the business. So we can rely on this information given in this blog. And you can also mention it in your discussion that yes, a lot of people liked this blog, so it is reliable. Okay, there are some comments, actually 2 comments. Ken Yardley commented, firms I have dealt with often don't seem to get basic communication right. They don't answer their phones, they don't respond to emails within 24 hours, they don't listen to what I'm asking or telling them. So I think this customer engagement aspect is important, and MUBID approach is addressing it. Am I right? Please tell me. MUBID approach is opposite to this problem, right? It is suggesting to be interactive and working with customer, openness, etc. Okay, very well highlighted. Kagan says that this point here, firms and seen relationship ending, if you are putting up less than excellent work. So this can be taken as a risk, a specific risk to retaining clients, that if we cannot keep up with the demands of the clients. Now, this is specifically coming up in the next exhibit as well. But yes, this is a very relevant risk. Okay, the last comment here says that the reason why Internet of Things hasn't developed as quickly as expected, that in many applications don't survive the pilot stage since many business systems are not able to cope. Okay, can I say that I'm going to use this point as a negative aspect of Internet of Things for question number 2, part B? So yes, there are a couple of points coming straight from the exhibits, but for MUBID approach especially, I'll have to be very innovative in giving ideas. It was 1B or 2B, sorry, I'm a little confused about which requirement was that. Question number 1B. All right, guys, Exhibit 4 is an extract of results of client survey. So this is the TT4U's recent client survey. And in the client survey, the customers responded to the service provision flexibility, innovation, um, information provision, then about staff, their knowledge, their responsiveness, their proactiveness. Yeah, so about the service and the staff. So let's have a look at all of these one by one quickly. So staff provision flexibility, 17% rate us as excellent, 56 good, 16 average, 11 poor. So 11% is a good percentage. We can't ignore this fact that we are performing poor in this area according to 11% of the people. So service provision was exceptionally good. Okay. This is the comment in the survey. When they first started advising us, but now we just seem to be getting basic service. Can I say risk? So risk of not giving proper flexible service to the customers. So this comment is highlighting the risk as well as 11% rating us as poor. So you can talk about this. What is the requirement where the risks are tested? It was question number 1, part A. No, question number 1, part A. Fiza, can you please check again? Okay. So this is relevant for question number 1, part A, the whole exhibit overall. But let's see. Innovation, excellent 9, good 57, average 22, poor 12. TT4U seems good at and comfortable with providing the same service that it always has provided. If I wanted new service, I would certainly go elsewhere. So innovation seems to be lacking. Now you can talk about the problems at the company level as one risk combined together, and then about the employee if there is something negative as another risk. And to explain the risk at company level, you can give reference to these comments or these percentages maybe, but not very specifically. Each percentage needs to be added in the comments. If you want to, you can. Information provision looks better with only 7% rating us as poor. For an IT consultancy, its website is really poor. It lacks detailed information about service, difficult to navigate. Its website looks old-fashioned and hasn't changed much for ages. It's noticeable that other consultant websites are interactive, so and appears to evolve and respond to what users want. So competition is highlighted too. They don't make enough use for messaging and social media, so not keeping up with innovation, right? The demands of the customer. How much you're told about what they are doing seems to depend on the staff involved. So now there is feedback on staff performance as well. So knowledge of the staff first. So you can check the percentages, but the comments are that appear to know our business well and how to make best use of technologies. So this is a positive comment. I have marked them down because they don't appear to know about their own services. I've asked staff on various occasions about other services. I know TT4U provides, and they had to ring around the office for an answer. So that seems to be lacking. Responsiveness of staff, emails are never answered. They often answer the question they wish you have asked rather than the question you did ask. So this is something examiner also highlight, that students sometimes answer for the question they wished should have been asked, but they don't answer for the question actually asked. So that goes for you guys too. Okay, next, you can always talk to the service director when you need to. I like how he's always kept in touch with us. So mixed, responses. Then proactiveness, we call them, they never call us. I would have liked them to have told us that we needed to invest in new systems before our old systems become too slow and unreliable. Some staff members really make you feel you're working with them as a team. It's not consistent across the whole company. So now this overall survey has so many comments and percentages. You can't take each element up and make it a risk out of it, because that would be too repetitive. So maybe one or two major problems identified and discussed as risk. Also, because of these problems, the MUBID approach advantages will be more highlighted, right? So the solution to all these problems are most of the problems can be MUBID approach, which is emphasizing on improving your interaction and work with clients. All right, guys, any questions so far? So that was our exhibit 4. Exhibit 5, and I would be needing a very specific answer here. It is the discussion of threatening letter about TT4U's largest client. So which requirement was asking about the threatening letter and the risk and ethical issues about this client Rex investment? Can everyone try to answer this? Come on, guys, you can do better. Okay. Yeah, so most of you think that it's question number 1, part C, and you're right. But I think there are two aspects. One was the ethical issues, and let me take you to that requirement, because there are two aspects. Just a second. So you have to advise actions, the control activities to ensure controls on confidentiality of data is operating effectively. So we'll have to find out what happened, right? And why do we need these actions? We need to understand that, and then risk and ethical issues. So back to exhibit 5. Okay, so IT director, and the skepticism skill is there to, go against what IT director is saying. So we have to, keep a very keen eye on what IT director is saying. He says that we have had an anonymous threat to reveal confidential data on Rex investment unless we pay $20,000. So that is the problem. They have received yeah, the TT4U has received the threat that the client's information will be revealed unless TT4U pay this person who is threatening them $20,000. Okay, you have to go against marketing director, guys. Sorry, I said IT director, but it's marketing director, to demonstrate skepticism. And let's see whether he's telling us the wrong things, or is he right, or what. Okay, marketing director says, surely we have received threats like this before and nothing has come of them. So his comment kind of shows a negligent behavior. Are you with me? Do you agree with me? He says that, oh, we receive these kind of threats and they don't matter. Do you think that a director should have an attitude like this, especially when it is linked to customers, very confidential information? So you can't just take it easy. You have to do something about it. So that's why the requirement is to suggest the control actions. What should we do to keep the data security, that the confidential information is safe? Okay, IT director says we have, in response to marketing director, we have, but this is a much more specific threat. So IT director is showing his concern that yes, this is a much more specific threat. It is quite detailed about data. We don't hold the data. We do hold the data and it is confidential. Marketing director says we must have all necessary controls in place, antivirus, software, passwords, etc. So what is he trying to say? That we already have controls in place, so you don't bother, you don't worry about it. So again, his responses are not okay. So we'll have to kind of give suggestions which are not in line with what the marketing director is saying. Do you understand what I'm saying, guys? Because the question requirement did say that skepticism skills are will need to be demonstrated. Okay. IT director, I am confident that the controls we need are there. Marketing director, then we don't need to pursue this further. Whoever's making the threats didn't get the information from us. We are computer consultants. Of course, we have complete and fully functioning controls. The one thing I would say is that we shouldn't tell Rex Investment about this. Do you agree with this person? We shouldn't tell Rex Investment, the client whose data is under the threat. So if it was you, would you say that we should discuss this matter with Rex Investment, or would you agree with marketing director? I think we must tell it to Rex. Why? And Shiri, why do you think we must tell to Rex Investment? Because transparency, because trust, and all these things, right? Ethics. And what if we hide it and this information gets leaked? Then we'll have a bigger reputation threat, isn't it? So all of these things needs to be discussed here. Okay, let's read it further. So marketing director says, as you know, they are our largest clients. Relations with them are difficult enough at the present. If we tell them, it shows we don't believe on our systems are secure. It will give them a very good reason to terminate our contract. So marketing director is kind of a very demotivated person. He is telling all the things which are not right, not for controls and not in terms of being transparent. Chief Executive Officer says that I nevertheless believe that this could be a serious risk for us. I don't think we can just say that we have controls. We need to have strong assurance that they are operating as they should be. If our controls haven't been working, we have to try to detect who's accessed the information. I'll ask Stuffil to view on these issues. Okay, guys, can I say that this data security and data related risk can be discussed as a specific risk in question number 1 part A as well? Generally data risk in future, not with risk investment, but generally, because they are going to enhance the cloud-based services and all, so the security risk of data will increase. Agreed? And this is definitely directly linked to question number 1 part C. So guys, for the first part of question number 1 part C, where you have to suggest the control actions and activities that should be in place now to make sure Rex investment data is secured. Do you suggest any activities? What should we do? Any ideas? I would like to hear from all of you. I'll give you like a minute or so to type in, and I'm waiting for your response. Okay, review data protection protocols at regular intervals. Okay. What else? Now I have a couple of things to, discuss. So Kagan suggested that checking the access log periodically, very good idea. Then having proper internal controls. Now that is a very generic point. So if you write having proper internal controls, that might not get you any marks because that's a very generic point. You have to be specific. What control activities? Shirangi, is that clear? So just don't write generally increasing controls. Be very specific. Then password change, rules applied. Maybe yes, that can work too. System asks for change your password at a given time. All right. Rotation of staff members, external audit for data security can be done. Absolutely. Limited permission to physically access to systems. All of these things. So do you guys understand the ideas? And everyone will think of different ideas, but these are the kind of activities you will be talking about. But how do we link them to TT for you? So maybe use the name of the company. So sometimes that linkage is enough to, because there are no ideas coming from the exhibits. So these are my own ideas or your own ideas, but you'll have to, be specific. You can say that TT for you can make sure that there is limited access to, physical access to systems, etc. And authorization of personnel who use the data, right? And having some sort of a check after certain intervals. Yeah, so all these password and antivirus activities are that are those are something naturally you'll be writing them. I think passwords and antivirus and all. Okay, now some ideas if we risk and ethical issues if we do not disclose the information to Rex investment. Okay, one more minute. Please type in the risks and ethical issues. And I would like to have at least 5 different points in total. So let's see how many we can get. That's question number 1, part C we are talking about here. All right. Since it's our biggest client, a bad reputation with Rex will cost us other clients as well. Yes. So reputation damage, it's a risk. Absolutely. Loss of contract and reputation damage, again, may have to face litigation, especially if we hide it now. Do you understand? So that is a risk. Loss of trust. And then don't you think it's against the general principle of being transparent, keeping up with the client's trust? So a lot of integrity and ethical value is also involved. So not just risk, but ethics too. So I think if we write all these points, we'll definitely get the marks. And these kind of questions are, get higher score if well explained. So, okay, Akis has mentioned operational risk, loss of contracts, and threat to. Okay, so that's the same thing which other students said. Not doing something beforehand for the problem at hand is also an ethical risk, of course. Being negligent. So, if we follow marketing director's suggestion, we will be negligent, and that is a big ethical as well as it's a risk too. So our objectivity will be questioned. And can we also write that if we hide the information now and if it gets leaked in future, it will become a bigger reputation threat? You know, that we are not doing something about it and at the same time we are hiding the information. So that is a bigger reputation threat. And you can talk about this very clearly in your answer. All right. So that is our exhibit 5. The last exhibit is the appraisal of cloud service investment prepared by recently appointed assistant to finance director. So guys, this is kind of similar to investment appraisal other discussion questions, but let's see all the points one by one. So for more practice, now that's a coincidence that we have got this kind of question yesterday as well as today. All right, let's go through this. Just 1 second. Okay, so exhibit 6 is appraisal of cloud. Um, so Fiza is asking, does this mean NPV analysis comes frequently in the exam? I can't exactly say, Fiza, but so far from 2018 September till now, this kind of question is tested at least 3 times. So yes, it is important, and it's a very strategic sort of discussion when you know appraise the work of other. So but there's no guarantee that you will also get this kind of question, but for practice these are good examples. Okay. So in SBL you can never guess which questions will appear, what kind of questions, and even if the same type of question appears again, the figures and the assumptions will be different. Okay, so Exhibit 6 is appraisal of cloud service investment prepared by recently appointed assistant to finance director, and you're given the net present value here. So 0 to 4 years data is given. Sales are given and note number 1 is relevant, but let me tell you that these are rounded off to 3 zeros, and these are the sales values mentioned here. So 8 million, 10, 250 000, 13250, and 15500. Let me read the note as well. Sales are based on expected increases in market, clients served, and prices. So it is based on all these factors. So basically, now what do you say? What do you say about these notes and the sales value? Any comment? Do you think this is fine? This looks fine? So basically, what I think is, yes, apparently it seems fine, but do you understand anything looking at these figures? So if I look at this, I don't get the exact idea about the breakdown of the sales revenue that is being earned from this new investment. Even this note on sales based on increase in market and client served and prices, this doesn't give very effective and useful information. So I need more information here to understand the sales better, and the breakdown from different sources of revenue needs to be enhanced here. And if they are increasing the prices, how they are increasing the prices, because it's a very competitive market, so increasing the sales just like that might not be possible. So what assumption was taken before taking the increase in selling price into account? So that is the comment on sales. Contribution, note 2, and you have the figures here. It's increasing over the years. Contribution is assumed to be 55% of revenue each year in line with current margins. Now, the thing is that within this new investment, if you are offering different services, the contribution to sales ratio will be different for each service. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So the figure of 55% of revenue can be a generic, a broad estimate, or it is maybe that margin which TT4U is generating recently, but there is no detail about variable cost is given. So I can't be sure if this is even practical, and the variable cost may change over time. So the contribution to sales ratio or percentage may change. So it can change according to the change in variable cost, and there's no information on that, as well as different services will have different contribution percentages. Yeah, so ICRA, if we just say that why it is 55% of revenue, that doesn't define my confusion, right? So just be very specific that we need more information on variable cost and different type of services to know whether they have this same percentage. So this looks very, generic if we give 1% for all the services. Okay, next we have marketing cost, note number 3, and marketing costs are given here. And note number 3, marketing costs are assumed to increase in line with sales up to year 3. Now, marketing cost will depend on when the new services will be introduced. So if they are, introduced gradually, then these estimates look all right, that gradually there's increase in marketing cost. But if the services are introduced now, why there is an increase in marketing cost over time? So no justification is given, no mention that when exactly the new services will be introduced, because you need marketing at the introduction of service more than the regular sort of marketing. Yeah, so that is the comment on marketing. Then you have this taxation paid. Note 4 is relevant. Tax rate is 25% of pre-tax cash flows. Okay, so for tax, I can just say one thing, that this might seems okay, but are there any allowances that are available to the company? If yes, there is no mention of the allowances. So that you can talk about. Then, you can also talk about the need for injecting working capital throughout the period. So working capital is something which we always talk about. We have terminal value, note 5 of 1500,000. Terminal value represents assumed realizable value if services are no longer viable after 4 years. So what do you have to say about that? This seems appropriate. I think this doesn't raise any objection for me, that if the services are no longer usable, we do add terminal value in investment appraisals. Yeah, we can check whether it is based on the market rate or not. That point can be added. Yeah, I'm coming to that point. Discount factor, point number 6. Discount factor 6% is after tax interest rate on current long-term loans, as this project be financed by a long-term loan. Okay, so discount rate used is incorrect. Because what did we learn yesterday? What is the best discount rate? It's the weighted average cost of capital. It can't be straight away the interest rate because we have taken the loan. So that's not right. There is likely, weighted average cost of capital needs to be taken as the discount rate, because it considers both the business and financial risks, and it might be higher than the cost of debt. since equity has a higher cost than debt, right? So again, weighted average cost of capital was needed. Okay, note number 7 is given for net present value. So it says that year 5 to 10 figure is post-tax discounted cash flow for year 4 multiplied by 6. Okay, there's one point I would like to add here, that if the net present value is calculated keeping 5 to 10 year figures into account as well, then the terminal value cannot be included at the end of year 4. It means that the project will be extended till year 10. So that is contradicting. That is my first point I would like to say here. And the second point is taking the post-tax cash flow at year 4 and using a multiple of 6 as the basis for year 5 to 10 has not been justified. The figure used needs to be discounted at the relevant discount factor for each year, not the discount factor for year 4. Do you understand that they have used the discount factor for year 4 and multiplied with 6 for 5 to 10 years? So each year discounting needs to be done just like we do regularly. So that is very objectionable, that why this is the case and there is no basis provided for it. So it's very questionable. Okay, so payback calculation, you guys can check it. The approach used to calculate this payback period seems appropriate. However, net present value is a better method to use as compared to payback period calculations. So that is the comment you can make on payback period. And there are some other problems linked to payback calculations, that it does not consider the cash flows which occur after the payback. So the problems with payback period can be discussed, and then you can generally talk about the sensitivity analysis of different figures overall to conclude the points. And overall conclusion is that in one of the exhibit it was mentioned that projects payback period is beyond the target, so it does not meet the criteria of payback. So the project is being rejected. But what we are going to say is that NPV is a better method, and the decision should be based on NPV rather than payback period. And also because from year 1 to 4 the NPV is positive and we don't know about 5 to 10 years, this positive NPV is enough indication that this project is financially viable at least, and that is a good base of accepting this project. Okay, so pretty much the same question with a lot of different new points of discussion here. So that brings us to the end of our discussion on exhibits. So again, a quick, do you guys need a break here before we jot down the points? Because we have to jot down the points like properly here, because some of the requirements again are based on ideas. So I would like to jot down some of the ideas, and I will be sharing a study plan for you guys if you're interested in that in last couple of minutes as well. So do you guys need a break here again? Okay, come back in 10 minutes and I will start jotting down the points and we'll share the study plan after that. Thank you very much. All right, guys, can we start? Right. So the first one, our first requirement is to analyze the risks specific to, retaining customers, etc. So as usual, there are 2 marks per point available. So for 8 marks, we can write like 4 to 5 points to be on the safe side. Analysis skill briefing paper. So what are the different risks? Now you have read all the case study. Can you tell me what risk you would like to talk about? So you can talk about the strategic risk, that the new strategy we choose might not be successful, or the implementation of the current strategy might be a problem. There will be operational risks. So strategic risk can be to failure to meet the needs of the ever changing demands of the client and not understanding them, maybe lack of resources to implement the strategy and cope up with the demands of the customer. So that's strategic risk. Operational risk is more, it can be linked to the survey results as well, about the company's performance and the staff performance. So you can use some important highlighted points from there to discuss the operational risks, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 maybe. Is that clear so far? So strategic risk can be linked to the understanding of the client and not keeping up with their demands. Operational risk comes from survey results. The evidence comes from survey results. Then I think, can we say that key personnel or intellectual property risk is there? That the 4 founding members, if anyone leaves the organization, that can be a source of problem with continuity of operations, and it will affect the business a lot. Then there is a risk of data security, right? Risk of reputation to this company, risk of not keeping up with the new marketing needs, product place, promotion, etc. The problems with the excess of data by clients, right? If your system is not keeping up with the demands of the customer in terms of accessibility of data, because they are offering cloud services as well. So all these kind of risks, and the others can be thought about, but only 4 risks were actually needed. Maybe add 1 extra risk to, being prudent. So 1 extra point may help us to get marks conveniently. So that was part A. Part B was to evaluate the 2 strategic options. The first one was Internet of Things. So when we have to evaluate the options, we have to talk about the positive aspects and negative aspects, but of course in paragraph form. So here I'm saving time and just writing the bullet points, but in the actual exam you'll have to write proper full statements and paragraph styles. Bullets only are okay on the slide format. And did you notice that in this particular case study, the slides format was not required in any of the requirement, which is okay. Okay, so what are the good things about Internet of Things? So one thing which I'm very sure of, coming from the article and from the discussion of the directors in Exhibit 1, is that this is a very easy means of diversification into new sectors like construction, like health, etc. Then another positive is that because it's a very innovative strategy, so our reputation as an innovative company will become better, right? The downsides of IoTs, what can be that? because good evaluation, so Ikra, yes, exactly your point of innovation I've just discussed. So good evaluation is the balanced evaluation where you consider positive as well as negative aspects. So concern may include the need for new skills. It might need capital investment, so will be risky. Shareholders might oppose it. Shareholders' concern might be there. You will need new staff, infrastructure, right? Training needs. These are all the things we need to consider. It can be that you're providing service to a client and the system of the client has problems, system issue with clients. So then, the service will not be effective. And can I say data security issue also goes here? So a lot of points I am writing here. You'll have to pick up like 2 positives, maybe 2 negatives, or more, depending on how much time you have. But these are all the relevant points you can talk about. And sometimes with the IoTs, we can overcommit as well. The risk of overcommitment, that we commit to provide them the relevant service, but because of the lack of resources and the problems with the efficiency, we might not be able to provide that level of service because this is a new area, and this risk of overcommitment is always there. So that's IoTs, and it has 6 marks. So total 12 marks and 6 marks per option. The second option was what? The government sector. So in this question, you can make headings when you start to talk about a particular thing. So I'll make this heading government sector. I'll talk about the positive aspects as well as negative aspects to make my evaluation clear. So for government sector work, the positive is availability of opportunities. The work is available. Remember the blog in exhibit 4, no, exhibit 3, the blog exhibit 3 says that there are a lot of work available. So there are opportunities available. It will help us with the growth of the company. Government sector work is more reliable because government and it's a guaranteed stream of cash flows, and they are for longer term. So long term, a sort of guarantee that we will be, getting the benefit from. Also, it is a good way of improving your relationship with government if you provide a good service. The downsides of this particular area is that there might be low profit margins the government would be able to offer, and the government sector work, would this be compatible or suitable to provide with other work? That's the concern. Then if we do not do it right, there will be a reputation risk with government, and sometimes it might be hard to keep up with government targets, right? So again, some positive, some negative aspects will give you a good, balanced evaluation. Now, if you have to give a conclusion, please give a very mixed conclusion where you can say that company can pick up anything depending on what the current situation of resources they have. So for that, we need more information to be very specifically giving a decision. Decision is not required as such. Yes, and the government does have strict requirements. Thank you very much, Kagan, for highlighting that. It's written in the blog as well. And can we say that we can rely on the blog because majority of the people liked the blog and agreed to the things that were discussed? All right. Question number 1, part C now. So in part C, we have to talk about two different things: controls on confidentiality of data. What actions do we need to ensure controls on data are effective? And the second one was risk and ethical issues related to communicating the threat to Rex. So memorandum format, 3 to 4 points for each of the parts of the requirement, and skepticism still was there. I did ask you for these actions and the ethical issues. So I'm going to jot down the ideas which you shared with me and a couple of others. So what are the control actions? So you can talk about, I think some of you mentioned having password controls, then having limited access. These are very generic things, but link them to TT for you, maybe using the name of the company, maybe the current situation, somehow make it connection, make it, connectivity needs to be ensured. Now this question needs a lot of ideas. Do you agree with me? But if you closely look at the ideas you're giving, they're not very difficult things to mention. Do you also agree on this? So if you do the ideas right, you will actually score higher. So not very difficult. Everyone can think of passwords and limited access. And can we also define procedures for portable devices? That they shouldn't be, the employee shouldn't be able to take the portable devices out of office. Maybe only the reliable people, some authorized people can do that. Configurations and regular monitoring, etc. All of these can be discussed. But as I said, that 3 to 4 ideas were needed. So to get those marks, yeah, 3 to 4 points for each. And now I am off to discussing the ethical issues and risk with risk investment, disclosing the information to Rex investment. But the thing is that I'll have to make a heading very clearly that now I'm talking about this part of the memorandum. So would you be able to make separate headings for each element of the requirement so that you carefully and clearly tell the examiner that here I'm talking about a new thing now? Yeah. Okay, guys. Please excuse me for like 2 minutes. I will be back. Just give me 2 minutes. Thank you. All right, I'm back. So reputational and ethical risk. So let's quickly do it because we have already discussed it. So okay, in this list I will be adding the some unusual activities, right? Keeping up with a check of authority, review failed attempts to log on, having audits on security, data security, etc. So all of these things. Okay, now coming to the ethical risks. One issue will be the trust, weakening of trust with the client. What will be the reaction of the client if we hide the information, and somehow if the information is leaked and is disclosed to the client. So that others may include not being honest and transparent, so pure ethical issue. And then loss of reputation in the eyes of other clients and prospective clients if this information is made public. So out of this, I think this one, honesty and transparency, is the ethical issue. Now you can discuss ethical issues in a separate heading and risk issues in a separate heading as well. And if we conceal the information, we'll be going against the MUBID approach, the new approach, isn't it? So a new approach which we are celebrating so much, we are going against our own approach. That is also the ethical issue. And if we disclose the information to Rex Investment, there will be a good point as well in ethical issues that it will help us with detection. They can give us ideas how to detect where the risk is, where the threat is coming from, right? So not only the downsides, the upsides can be discussed too. All right, guys, question number 2, part A, was to critically evaluate the investment appraisal. This was kind of discussed using Exhibit 6, so I'm not going to be discussing this again. You can refer to the standard answer for this to see how examiner has explained the points we were able to highlight. Okay, now task 2, part B, guys, was to how e-marketing can be used to attract and retain customer for new cloud services. So commercial acumen skill was tested, 5 to 6 points were needed, and the briefing note format was to be followed. So I think for how e-marketing can be used, we have to give ideas here. So to attract the new customer, e-marketing can be used, and also to retain customers. So how e-marketing can be used to attract customer? They can use search engine positioning, yes, or search engine optimization. They can use social media as a platform to advertise and market their services. Then they can have frequently asked questions on their website or other things of interest on their website. E-marketing is all e-business ideas, right? And because e-business is easy to use and easy to access, so that is something which will help to attract the clients. Then you can also go for opt-in emails and SMS text messages. Short videos can be used. Surveys can be done to know more about what client wants. So this is how you attract new clients. For retaining, you can do the existing client surveys. You can have better relationship with clients using e-marketing or e-business. For example, asking for registration and offering discounts on registrations and subscriptions, for example, right? That is called interactivity. Reviewing, identifying the trends and patterns, data analytics, that's called understanding of your customers. Then, responses to queries, through chat window, let's say, on time, promptly. So that will retain clients. News groups, business blogs, and the list can go on with the ideas. But overall, you needed 5 to 6 to 7 points. But sometimes if you think that the points are very, very clear, you don't need to explain them much, we can add more points. So the marking scheme of the examiner does say that there is 1 mark for each idea, because these ideas are self-explanatory. So definitely we need all the ideas according to the number of marks. Any questions so far? Any specific thing which you are not able to understand? Yes, feedback of information. So all of these can work. Thank you, Keith, for participating. So now task 3, which was more about MUBIT approach, the advantages, etc. So for that, we should be reading once again the MUBIT approach. But let's start with part A, which is to advise CEO of her responsibilities and activities she needs to engage in for bringing this change effectively, right? So again, there are 2 parts. Responsibilities and activities. So what are her responsibilities with the change coming in according to MUBIT? She needs to provide the leadership overall. That is her responsibility. She needs to be there, be available for people. She needs to motivate the people, convince them, or motivate or convince rest of the board. As CEO, this is on her. Convince the board. Then making sure that the board, overall board, is taking the leadership role as well. So that is her responsibilities. And what other activities she can get involved in. So now the ideas can be so many. So she can, the need for, she can explain the need for change, which is educating people. She should make sure that staff is participating in the discussion and in the training, etc. So she should be engaged in detailed planning of the resources for MUBIT approach, isn't it? Operational training, information provision, all of it. Then she needs to give direction to people, team building, handling the new behaviors, the resistance, manage behavioral issues, right? And, communicate effectively. So these are some of the ideas, and there were 10 marks in total. So we have to be careful about giving points. So 5, 6, 7 points can be included depending on how much you are explaining. Now part B, part B was benefits of MUBIT approach to company and employees. So let's talk about the benefits for the company first. So MUBIT approach is beneficial because clients now want more and more services. and within one service they want so many aspects, right? So with the new approach, clients will not leave the company, loyalty will increase, it will engage them, it will lock them in with the company. um, then you can develop service for one client and you can sell it to others as well. Because a lot of aspects are taken care of when defining a service, working with others and boundaryless and openness, etc. So these are the benefits to company and to employees. There are so many benefits. It's learning, knowledge improvement at personal level of clients' businesses. So personal skills will be enhanced because new approach will bring in the need for training. Okay, so that was the first part, benefit of MUBIT to company and employees. So employees will also feel the greater sense of responsibility, right? There can be reward systems to keep them motivated. So all of these. Now, the second part of the requirement to talk about the changes needed to team structure and behavior. Remember? So let's talk about that a little bit. Changes needed to team structure and behaviors. So so now the teams need to be more flexible. They are not supposed to be one team working for one particular task. So there need to be greater flexibility. There will be greater communication because of the added aspects of MUBIT. What about activities? Ikra, which requirement you're talking about? You just asked what about activities. So yeah, so I have discussed the responsibilities and activities together because that's kind of the same thing, but I have made sure that I discuss all the relevant points. Okay, now what other things can be brought to the structure? Or maybe you can write it together as well. Structure and behaviors. You need to be more responsive. That's the behavioral change needed. You need to be more proactive. You need to have an urge and a sense to learn client business. You'll have to be innovative. Yep, so all of these behaviors and structures. So laid back attitude and the attitude of not learning and stick to one approach, all of these needs to change if the MUBIT approach needs to get successful. Task 3 was what changes required to membership of the board and what information needs to change. So let's talk about the changes required to membership of the board first, which is needed for the new MUBIT approach. So for that, you need to have a look at the current board structure. Let me take you to the current board structure, and then we will be making more sense of what needs to change in that particular structure. The structure of the board or the membership was mentioned in the overview. So let me show that on the screen. Can you see it now? So you'll have to suggest the changes here. So anything which you think now it's a very open-ended question. Your ideas, the innovative ideas are needed here. So basically the changes suggested to board composition and information needs to be discussed here, right? So for this executive team will now be responsible for operational and management responsibilities, right? So maybe you need to add one more hierarchy here of the operations director, because the MUBIT approach is combining the strategic and operational issues. So maybe an additional role this role can be given to CEO or service director to oversee and coordinate the new, more complex structure, right? So that is needed. Do you think we need to change the role of marketing director also? He needs to now concentrate on effective marketing of new services and leading the winning of business for new clients. And there's a lot of emphasis on staff training and staff skills and all. So maybe you need to add an HR director here. So as the size is growing, the company's size is growing, and the importance of key staff to the business and forthcoming changes will impact the staff development and their CPD need and their motivation. So for that, maybe an HR director needs to be added. So that very broader generic idea is needed to be given to the board structure. There might be a risk director added, so to keep the risk in check. Yeah, so you can add that. So Olu, thank you so much for your point here. And there might be a specific committee from these board members who are specifically addressing the MUBIT. So very good point, Kagan. Separate team or committee. So I like the ideas you guys are given. So having a risk director and HR director. Do you understand the HR part? The why should we need maybe an HR director here? Because the need for development and motivation and new skills. Yeah, makes sense? And then risk director and a committee addressing MUBIT could be formed. These are some of the ideas which are not even mentioned in the standard answer, frankly. So these are good ideas. All right, guys, I'm just going towards the end. Okay, so the last part of the question was to discuss the information provision to board, the changes to information provision to the board. So what new type of information that can be supplied to the board? So current information is okay, but now the information regarding e-marketing will be needed. For example, feedback via website, because MUBIT approach is emphasizing on innovation and use of technology in e-business. Some information on the my years on competitors data, how client service is being done by the competitors. Now we need to be more focused, right, getting the results. Can we say feedback directly from clients? So I think Olu, you have suggested it, like customer satisfaction, ongoing information on risk assessment regarding the new MUBIT approach. Excellent point. Can I say problems and how they are resolved? That information is needed. and what are the new client service KPIs and critical success factors, and are they being effectively managed or not. So all these kind of new service provisions are needed. Now these questions can be easy, but they can be very tricky if you're not focused and if you're not thinking in the right direction. So that's why this case study is tricky. I won't say it's a very simple case study. So now again, as we do every day, please read the standard answer and try to cover it within a day, so that the things are fresh. So the standard answer will make more sense. And do read the examiner report to find out what were the areas that were poorly performed, and because of that the students failed this attempt. So we'll give you a lot of learning and insight about this particular exam. So that was the homework part. Now I have one more thing to discuss very quickly, and that's the study plan. We might not get the chance to discuss that tomorrow. So if you guys can spend another 5 minutes, let me share the study plan for last 10 days, or maybe more if you are using any particular exam kit. So what are you guys using for practice? So one thing is for sure, the past exams. What else? So there are, I think, around 9 or 10 past papers. No, you don't need to memorize standard answer. You need to just read it once for more ideas. Okay, Shireen? Okay, guys, can you please quickly tell me what is your source of practice? Past exams only, or maybe a practice kit? Past exam and kit. Okay, so depending on how many case studies you have, you can define your study plan, but let's stick to past exam study plan for last 10 days before exam. So you have, let's say, 10 past papers. Let me exactly count. So there are 3 specimen exam, September 18 exam, December 18 exam, March 19, September 19, March 20, September 20, and yes, one more March 21. So we have 10 past papers. So one past paper each day. That's the study plan. But the thing is that how should you go about a case study? How to solve it? So at least half of the case studies should be done in the written form. Can you guys make sure you do it? So write them completely in 4 hours, read, plan, and write, and then read the standard answer. So if you are preparing a plan for 10 days, at least 4 to 5 days are for written practice as well. So I normally suggest the study plan in my classes as well, and they always work. So for one case study in one day, how should we do it? So the first thing is you read the questions, you make a summary of your question requirements plus the probable answers and ideas. So you jot them down, highlight the exhibits, read the question paper fully. Then you open the standard answers because you have already jotted down your points or made a plan of answer. You read the answers and marking scheme in detail. The third thing you can do is for 4 to 5 past exams, you can solve them in written form fully, but in exam conditions, which means 4 hours, which means not taking any breaks, which mean taking care of time management. And the best thing you can do for time management is being very vigilant and active from the first minute of the exam, just like we are normally active in the last 15 minutes of exam. So be very fast and keep the same pace throughout 4 hours, right? And one more thing you have to do to complete your preparation of one single past paper is to read the examiner's report. That is a must do document for all past papers. So this plan you can follow in last 10 days, and I think with every case study you will improve. And for time management, solve 3 to 4 to 5 past exams like fully. And do read marking scheme also, especially for professional skills marks, because you know, the examiner gives you examples on how to get the full marks there in that particular area. So yeah, that is a rough quick study plan for you. And one thing which is sure to be covered is 100% syllabus needs to be covered. Please do refer to your study syllabus guide if you're confused about some syllabus areas, and do take care of the new addition to syllabus in from September 2021 onwards. All right, this is it from my side. If you have any questions, you can ask. All right, I think this is it. If there are no more questions, thank you very much for today. I will see you tomorrow with one more case study, and that is going to be a not-for-profit organization from March 21 exam attempt. And tomorrow we'll also have a look at the computer-based exam form of that particular question. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone, and goodbye.